as a councilor, briefly as a legislator, what makes you want to get back in the game now?
I usually give a flippant answer, but I'm going to give a straight answer. I have a passion for city government. You know, I've been around it for 12 years now. I've seen how it works, I've seen how it doesn't work, and I'm very interested in the city. People sometimes have an impression that I'm from somewhere else. I actually grew up here, right around Montgomery, Pennsylvania. I went to Comanche Elementary, Madison Middle School, Sandia High School. Richard Romero was my high school principal. I got to know him pretty well during my time there. And I spent 4 years in the Navy, but Albuquerque's always been home. But I've had the benefit of living in other communities and seeing what other cities can do and what they have done to improve their quality of life, to make the city better, to make it the kind of city that attracts people from all walks of life. You know, had I not gone to, I spent a year in the Navy in Portland, Oregon, and I think, you know, despite its knock on the development community and is being hyper-liberal, and it pretty much is, I think they do a lot of good things in terms of city government. That was really my experience with mass transit. I mean, growing up here, I mean, the bus was for weirdos. You know, you just no one took the bus. And I drove up to Oregon. I had a car, and it was such a hassle with parking, and mass transit was so much easier. I sold my car in the first 2 weeks and didn't have a car for 3 years. Basically just used the bus and their light rail system. I think the council should be much more involved. I think that the vote calling for the Department of Justice investigation was the right way to go. I thought it was unfortunate that the mayor vetoed that, and I hope that they're able to override the veto. So I would like to see the council get much more involved in terms of that. I'm not talking about micromanaging the police department, but I do think we probably need a change of leadership there. But yeah, I think it's been 20 months. We've had a shooting every month. 14 out of the 20 have been homicide, well, deaths, and yeah, I think something needs to be done more than just, well, that's the way it goes and we're kind of working on it.
What do you propose could be done?
Yeah, like I said, I think the DOJ is a good step. I think we need to have a true outside entity come in and take a look at the department, take a look at the leadership, take a look at the training, and go from there. I think the first study was okay. I don't have a whole lot of faith in it. I think there are probably some recommendations in there that we ought to take up, but I would like to see something where it's not the city paying someone to say, hey, what do you think? Because my experience has been when you pay someone to do a study, they're going to keep in mind who's writing the check. The nice thing about the Department of Justice is they don't care one way or the other. We're not paying them. I know there's a tradition within the Republican Party to say that the private sector is the answer to everything, and I think it's an answer to a lot of things if it's true private sector competition. I know the mayor has talked about using $20 million to fix up the convention center, make it more marketable. But one of the things I did is I felt like we needed to have the ACVB, the Albuquerque Convention Visitors Bureau, compete. For 20 or 25 years, they've had a $4 to $5 million a year contract with the city to market the convention center. They haven't done very well. I mean, we don't have people coming in, but they're still getting $4 or $5 million. So, but this is a case where we say it's a private sector entity, but it really isn't. If you don't have to compete for your contract, there's no private sector competition.
And that was, you were saying that was an initiative that you came up with?
Yes.
To create that, but you don't think it's done?
Well, what I wanted to see is were there other groups out there that could handle the marketing? Because right now, my feeling is, and I still feel this way today, ACVB takes $4 or $5 million from the city, and that's kind of their base budget. Then they partner with people who are actually our competitors, the casinos, different outlying communities, and that kind of thing, and they see themselves as marketing the greater Albuquerque region. For me, I'm like, you're supposed to market the convention center. That's your job. But right now, I think that while the city is doing okay, I think that we could do better, and I think that we're having a tendency, because we're not as bad as Detroit, we're not as bad as the rest of the country, to kind of say, well, we're okay, and let's just kind of leave it at that. I think there's plenty of areas for improvement. And my concern is that what if things don't get better? What if this is the calm before the storm? What if things actually are going to take even more of a downturn? There are things that we can be doing in the city to prepare for that, to insulate ourselves for that. I mean, the federal government is $14 trillion in debt. If you don't think that's going you're delusional, and we are acting as if what's going on with the labs and what's going on with the base is going to continue on forever. And I don't think it will. I think we need to start taking steps to prepare for that economic hit.
What are the biggest problems you think facing your district?
Well, for my district, and it's always been this way, they don't ask for a lot. I mean, they like their parks, they like the senior center, Bear Canyon Senior Center, the public library. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that, you know, the basic services like police and fire are responsive and up to snuff. I think that we need to take care of the facilities that we have. If you go to the Wantabo Public Library, that needs TLC. Bear Canyon Senior Center needs TLC. We're doing a bit of a remodel, but it's based off of money that I got for the center back when I was on the city council, so I'd like to see us speed up the process in some of those cases. But the biggest thing that I really see in District 8 is there are parts of it that were built out, like Glenwood Hills. It was built out in, you know, the 70s, if not a little bit earlier, and some of the neighborhoods are aging. And I knocked on the door of a guy. I knocked on his door in 1999 when I was first running for city council, and I was younger, and he was younger. But a lot of the folks, when I first knocked on those doors, they had kids. There were families there, and now you see that, you know, they're empty nesters. And my concern is we're not getting that new blood coming into the district, where, you know, we have the schools, we have the infrastructure. How do we make this part of the city vibrant and exciting, or a little more vibrant? I don't want to say that it's dead or anything like that, but it's one of those things where, you know, 10 or 15 years down the road, if we haven't attracted new families and new, you know, activity into the district, yeah, it might be an issue. I mean, we've seen that happen in Nob Hill. I mean, I was in high school, Sandia High School, when Notes opened up. It's a little ice cream shop, and that was about all the activity in Nob Hill, and now you just see everything that has taken off. I'd like to see something similar like that happen up in my neck of the woods. We tried to work on it at Wantabo and Montgomery. Unfortunately, the plans that I had put in place by 2003 kind of went by the wayside. We've got a flying star up there, we've got Sunflower Market, we've got, you know, potential there, but I don't think that we're doing quite enough. We need to do more. So that's a very long way of saying I think that we need to focus on making sure that it remains a community with the potential to renew itself. I think that she is very well versed in commercial real estate issues. What I have heard, though, is that from a lot of constituents, if they have tried to talk to her or take up an issue with her, they tend to get dismissed. I think that Trudy kind of has her way of doing things, and that's the way she likes to go. I like to have my way sometimes, but I also know that I'm not always going to be right, and that I need to listen to people and take direction from them. Let me give you an example. If you think about the area between Wantabo and Tramway on Comanche, we have Holiday Park, and on the very east side of Tramway and Comanche, we have a YMCA. We have the Wantabo Public Library not far from there. We have Define Fitness. Just up the road, we have Planet Fitness. And what the city is proposing is to spend about $10 million on a multi-generational center. Well, for me, I don't know that it's a very good use of money, given all the facilities that you already have there. The other thing is right across the Royal, you have John Baker Elementary and Hoover Middle School. Now, the city, and Trudy in particular, is saying that we need this because, yeah, we have the money and the community wants it. But if you talk to people around that neighborhood association, they don't want it. They like their basketball court. They don't want to lose some of their park, and they don't see the need for the cost. Does it need some renovation? Absolutely. But the argument is, well, we need a place for people to work out. Well, we have the YMCA. I mean, it's a private nonprofit. Is there some way for the city to partner up and make use of the facilities that are already there? The other argument is we need a place for summer programs for the city. Well, you have John Baker and you have Hoover Middle School sitting empty. My kids went to one of those programs this summer, and they went to Matheson Park Elementary, and it worked out fine. So could we make use of the APS facilities? So instead of spending that $10 million on something brand new that the neighborhood doesn't really want, and the neighborhood has told Trudy that they don't want, could you make a better use of that money? And here's another thing, it's kind of a sidebar. Property taxes fund the GO bond program. And one of the things I've really heard going door to door is that people are upset that their home valuations have gone down, but the property taxes have gone up. And if there's some way, instead of just bonding ourselves out or leveraging the bond program out to its ultimate capacity, instead of building the $10 million event center that no one really wants, why not do $10 million worth of property tax relief, trying to reduce the property taxes? So that's a very long way, Marissa, of saying, in this particular case, I would listen to the neighborhood. I would look at the reality of the situation where, you've got the library, you've got the YMCA. Up the road at Montgomery and Tramley, you have a police substation that sits vacant and locked up, supposedly because the city doesn't have enough money to keep it open. But we have money for this. So I think that would be one of the key differences for me. The other thing is while I believe that the real estate community is important and they have a seat at the table, neighborhood associations also have a seat at the table, and we need to listen to them.
So why did you step down from your position as transit director?
Because Marty was on his way out and he brought me in, and I went with the guy who brought me to the dance.
What do you think of Mayor Rich Berry?
You know what? I've known him for a long time. I knew him when he was candidate to Berry, State Representative Berry. I think he's done some good things. But one of the issues I have with my opponent is I don't think it's a job of the city councilor to be a rubber stamp for the mayor, for any mayor. It's not the job to be at war with them. And one of the things that I probably would have done differently looking back in 1999 when I was first elected is Jim Bach and I, who was the mayor at the time, just mixed it up, for 2 years. And I don't think it was good for him. I don't think it was good for me. I don't think it was good for the city. So there's some things I disagree with the mayor on. I didn't believe we needed the chief public safety officer position at all. If you want to bring Darren White on board, make him chief of police. But I think if you campaign saying something is a political position needs to be gotten rid of, and I agree, when Marty created it, it was a political position. After you're elected, you need to keep those campaign promises and get rid of it. So I think he's done a good job. I think he's a good mayor. I think he makes people feel very comfortable. I would be happy to work with him, but like I say, going back to the DOJ investigation, why would we oppose that? Why would we not want to, given everything that's going on, and given the fact that we have a majority of the council, why wouldn't we do that?
Do you think you'd be able to work with other councilors in the administration to accomplish your goals?
Work with other councilors?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of surprising. One of the councilors that I really like on a personal level is Ike and I are night and day on a lot of policy issues. But on mass transit and on some of the planning issues, there's some common ground there. I like Dan Lewis. I've known Brad Winter for forever. Mike Cook, same thing. Don Harris. I know most of these folks. I worked with them as transit director. In some cases, I worked on their political campaigns. So, yeah, absolutely. Probably 10 times more than I was able to the first time I was on the council, be able to work with them and work on some policies. And I really would like to see the council be a little more active and assert its role as the public policy-making body for the city. And that's what they're tasked with by the charter. Now, that doesn't mean that they micromanage the executive or we have 9 mini-mayors, but it does mean that, on some of these issues, and I don't want to dwell on police, but, it's just so raw after yesterday, that I think the council steps up and gets a little more active and a little more involved. I also, something that bothers me about the council is this limiting of public debate. It's the 2 minutes, and then sometimes it's down to 1.5 minutes, or we cut it off, or not at all. And we had a situation that I thought was really unfortunate with this last budget, where we rolled out amendments that no one had seen and no one was aware of, and we just, on a 5-4 vote, just hammered them on through to the point where Councilor O'Malley said, what am I doing here? And I don't think we can do that. I don't think that that's good for the council. I think, if you have an idea or you're going to roll it out, let people know ahead of time, let the public comment on it. And one of the complaints I've heard from people is, with these floor amendments or these floor substitutes, they come out of the blue, they're not part of the agenda, there's no public debate, they get rolled out after the public comment, and so is that really a democratic process? And the